Yeah, hello. So let's talk about CSS, cascading style sheets. So when you look at CSS, it's based on cascade, specificity, and then there is one more thing called importance. Okay, so I have this code where you can see the div having an idea of my selector and then the classes of week, and we can see them over here. Look at it. Okay, good. Let's quickly go to W3 schools to kind of check our selectors references, so you can see to select a class you use the dot followed by the class name, and then you have the hash key followed by the ID Y for the universal selector. That's you use the asterisk. If you also want to select your elements, then you use just the element name and so on. But you realize you have issues with, especially when you talk about the cascading, the specificity. You look at what wins. Now, when you talk about cascade, it's like okay, you are pouring water. I get it inside, let's say a cup. So as the water trickles down, the element at the top, I get it. We get the first property set followed by the one down and so on. So it's cascade. So that means the element that comes last we always win. I get it. The element that comes last having the same selector we always win. Let's look at this in display. Now look at this over here. We have our ID and so on. Let's look at okay. Let's select another. You have my selector. Let's apply a color of red. Okay. Look at it. So the test colors, every one of them is now red, right? Okay, good. What about if I decide to now say, okay, look at this, week, right? Okay, good. Now say dot week and color green. Now, what do you think the color will be? Green. Now, do you know why? It's because this is the cascading working over here. I getting the cascading and then the specificity at the same time. Week is coming after the selector. Now, let's look at the console and then we select this. Now look at this. When you look at the my selector ID, you can see the color is red, right? Okay, good. It has applied the red to it. But now when you now move down to the element inside the ID, which is the week, you can see it has changed to green. So what actually happens is that okay, the ID changes to what red. But when it's now going down, trying to read that okay, what next are we having? Then you see that oh, I am having week of what of this. I get it. So that's the cascade. That's the cascade that is trying to play out there. You can see the one with the lower distance wins out. But now let's look at specificity. When you talk about specificity, now I enter the class and all boys stand up now. All the boys are going to stand up. Is that not so? But I can be more specific by saying Mr. So stand up. Now the person bring the name we do we stand up, right? That's specificity. I'm being specific now. I can be specific with this by saying my selector dot week color, let's say orange. Now what am I doing here in essence? Like I am selecting all the week inside my selector, and I'm asking them that okay, change the color to orange. I am being specific now. and look at it over here, you are going to see the color will change to orange. Now, this doesn't, I can go ahead and put this over here, or even at the first line over here. Can you see it's still orange? It's because it doesn't matter, the cascade will not have effect at this stage. Now, why? Because I am being specific, like, okay, go inside the select my selector ID and then select every week in there. Look at it. Go inside this ID, select every week there, and then change the color to orange. I get it. Now come, let's have a look at this. Div. Okay, let's just say, let's copy this over here and now look at it. I'm trying to point out how the specificity works now. Now I have the ID here, right? Now everything these classes, they are right inside the ID. Okay. Then now look at this. I have these classes over here to the week. I get it, and they are just there. They are not covered by any selector. Look at this now. This is telling you go inside the ID selector, my selector, and turn every week the colors, turn them to orange. This is not saying now every week should take a color of green. When you refresh, you are going to see, look at it. If you look at it, all these, they are right, they are orange, they are right inside the my selector ID. While over here, they are not inside any ID, are you getting? But they have the class of week. Now, to understand specificity more, there is a specific calculator that you can always use. Okay, so now everything is in 000. You can just go ahead and copy to actually know what to win out. Look at this. I can copy this, paste it inside. Now you can see 110, right? Okay, good. Now let me copy this 010. So can you see? It's simply telling me that this has a higher specificity than this. We can also go ahead and say, okay, P color maybe brown. That is all P tag, that's all paragraph tags should take the color of brown. Now let's look at it. What do you think will happen in this case? Look at it. Can you see it's not having any effect because something has already won over it. This week has won over it, despite the fact that P is coming last, but the week has won over it because we are being specific. This is what I'm trying. Look at it over here. Can you see? Yeah, and I selected yeah, specific. But now I'm just selecting all the P. Another P can be right here. I can have ordinary P tag, hello world. I can have ordinary P tag here. Yeah, it will take the brown. Can you see? So that's cascading and specificity in a short, in a summary. You can. Now let's look. What would you think will happen when we have something like, let me see, hash my selector P dot week and color. Okay, let's say color. Okay, let's see color cyan. Okay, let's see color dark cyan. I have simply selected my selector, I have selected the P, and I have selected the week. That's the highest specificity I can ever get for this kind of element right here. You can also look at it and then copy it out, check the specificity calculator to know what's going on. Look at it. 111 is greater. 111 is greater than 110, so that shows that it's going Definitely going to win out. Look at that. We have our senior. So that's it with CSS selectors, and then you can go ahead and check the selector reference over here for more information on some of the selectors we have now on how to use them. You have the universal selector, you have how to select the classes, the IDs, how to select first child in a list and so many others. But the main thing is learning the selector, the cascade, the specificity, and then the last one is now importance. Importance overrides all the rules. Are you getting? When you apply importance, now look at this. Out of this thing here, you have this is the lowest property there. Are you getting? This is the lowest. The p tag bulb. Let's look at it. Let me add important. Important means override everything. So it's going to override all this. In fact, let me put it here so you don't think because it's down it's going to let me put it here. It's going to override everything right there, and look at it. Important. So it's not really advisable to use important in your CSS rules because it causes problem. Take for instance now, okay, you've written the code for, and then now they have a problem or they want to change the interface, whatever. Now they give another dev. Now the dev is just trying to what's going on here, what's going on here. And then no matter what, if you like, put another p tag here, change the color to good or what have you. It's not going to work out. So it causes a problem. The only way you can do it is by what? Adding another important. So important will now override the initial important. Can you see? So it's not really a good thing to to use important. Instead, you can just be more specific with your CSS. You can just be more specific with your CSS. Let's go by it again. You want to color all these inside the my selector. It's something you can just go my selector dot weak color red. That's it. It's simple as you see. That's it. You want to talk about this, right? You can just p dot weak and maybe color green. Yeah. Look at that. Can you see? You want to talk about this, you can just p color brown. Okay, so that's it. Simple. And if you're having issues, you can come over here, copy your selectors, paste it in and see which one wins out. So you can see this one is 110. Come over here, 011, choose this letter, and then P001. So that's it. It says the selector. You can't know what the selectors of, you have a whole bunch of them, but and you only use few. You only use few among them. You only use few in order to get to where you can actually add classes. You can have multiple classes. So you can add classes to circumvent through it. You can over here now I can add my week. Are you getting? I can add my week. So if I want to change this over here, I can go ahead and say, let me see, I can go ahead and say p dot my week And then we have color of sorry, color of maybe pink. Sorry. Yes, P dot my week. There's a color of so this is my fourth day of the week. Okay, right. See, okay, see, oh, look at that.